What damage is being done?
It's a whole series of damage, John, and thank you for having me. Look, there is damage being done to the average household and the average business as they deal with a negative income effect, a negative wealth effect, closure of lending markets, and inflation. Let's not forget that they're dealing with a cost of living crisis. Then there's a broader issue, which is a loss of credibility in policymaking, which means that policymakers will have to go beyond where they would normally would have had to go, as the Fed is doing in the US. And then finally, there is the longer-term standing of a G7 economy that is behaving like a developing country, including getting a reprimand from the IMF. I know you don't like that reprimand, but the fact that it happened is indicative.
Yeah, I didn't like the IMF reprimand because I think there's a bigger reprimand to be had down in Washington, D.C. that they seemingly want to avoid, Mohamed, but we can save that conversation for another day. We're both on the same page, though, when it comes to intervention. Mohamed, intervention is often unsustainable and it doesn't address the underlying issues. Within your piece today and within much of your work through the last week, you've made the point that we still have some underlying policy issues to address. Can you walk us through one by one what you think needs to happen here imminently in the next few days, the next few weeks?
Yeah, and let's take the example of the UK because I think it's very illustrative. So, John, we knew that the exit from the paradigm of easy money was going to be hard. And we thought that the major challenge was going to be the balance between inflation and recession risk, as you heard in the tape. The question now is financial stability, that it turns out that there's also significant financial stability risk, and all it takes is some action, some unforeseen action. In the case of the UK, it was the fiscal action to trigger this financial stability concern. So suddenly, the Bank of England finds itself in the ECB situation, where it has to figure out how to use monetary policy to contain inflation, and then some other measure to contain financial risk. And then these two things are in conflict. So we've discovered that this is an even more complicated exit, and it doesn't help that central banks are late. So I just think we have to buckle our seatbelt even tighter. We have to recognize that policymakers are no longer repressors of volatility, but they contribute to volatility. And that this journey is going to be incredibly bumpy. And hopefully the new destination is a better one because it's less distorted, but it's a very bumpy journey.